Leaders and healers, gamers and claimers, ladies and gentlemen from around the universe, from around the globe, from around the community, welcome to the Power, Purpose, and Passion podcast. I am your host, Anthony Cheam, speaker, life coach, author, trainer, musician, singer, songwriter, podcast host, ready to give to you the best of what I've learned to earn in return of the past 20 years being in this amazing industry of self-help, self-development, professional development, personal development, and studying the best of the best, attending seminars, reading books, listening to audios, all for the total desire and hunger to serve the world and to make the world a better place, because this podcast is where we help you claim your power, clarify your purpose, and cultivate your deepest, widest, and highest passions possible. So ultimately you can give, you can live, you can upgrade, update, and enhance and advance your life on a consistent basis, just like you upgrade and update your computer and your phone and your tablet. We got to upgrade our minds, our bodies, our souls, our vision, our mission, our purpose, our power, and our passion. So thank you for joining us on this podcast. It's an absolute pleasure and a privilege. I get so stoked for everything that I do on a daily basis, because at the end of the day, when it comes to living the best life, ultimately the best of the best life are the people that are not just growing and becoming better, but that are giving of themselves, their time, their love, their energy, their gifts, their talents to the world around them. That's when you're living the absolute best. So upgrading your life shouldn't just be about upgrading your body and your mind for your own self. That is, achieving at high levels is great, but at the end of the day, for long-lasting fulfillment and transformation, it really takes of ourselves, tuning and touching the part of ourselves that we don't spend time with on a consistent basis through prayer, meditation, time with ourselves to really encapsulate what our heart, our soul, our spirits really want, and being able to share that with others. I can tell you that is the greatest gift. And quite frankly, this podcast is just another vehicle that I use, that Cameron helps me use to relay the messages of my heart and my soul to you, so to transform your own life. So thank you for joining us. I know it's the summer. We don't get on this podcast that much, maybe once a week. And come September, we're going to return back to a more consistent podcast, and continue to give you the best of what we've learned and what we can give to you. So today's podcast is managing your stressors, or mastering your stressors and not your stress. Too many people focus on managing their stress or mastering their stress. I've recently learned, and I've read a few books about this stuff recently, and a few articles from people that I highly admire, and they talked about how one of the best ways to manage your stress is to manage your stressors. And so as an example of that is manage your environment. What environments do you put yourself in that trigger you to go into frustration or anxiety or panic mode? And if you can manage those, or at least spend as little time as humanly possible in those environments that trigger you to do that, then exit those environments and choose better, higher environments. If certain people trigger you, then manage the people around you that you're hanging around most. I often tell people sometimes the best way to change is to change your friends. There's a saying that says, if you hang around 9 people that are broke, you'll be the 10th person that's broke. So if you hang around 9 people that are triggering you to stress, you'll be the 10th person that's highly stressed out and highly stressful, and you'll just add to that stressful environment. Now, very few people in the world that I know, that I've read about, like a Nelson Mandela or a Jesus Christ or a Gandhi, who are able to manage themselves and master themselves at that level, where they can go into an environment and just by their presence infect the environment around them. That can actually do that. I don't know too many people that are here. We all have access to that, but if you aren't at that level yet, then what the next best way, other than meditation and contemplation and prayer, and silence alone with you and the divine, is to manage your stressors, the triggers, the things that are triggering you to go into panic mode, that are triggering you to go into fear mode. Recently, one of the strategies that I found out that made me reflect on my own life was, anytime you feel down, or you're stressed, or you're feeling fearful, or you're feeling you're not yourself, or you're in panic mode for whatever reason, is to reframe the experience and call up some of your best people that know you the most, and ask them, I'm going through a tough time. Can you just remind me of why you're friends with me, or will remind me of why I'm valuable, remind me of, I'm not doing this for an ego stroke, I'm just having a very tough time with my life right now, or I'm not feeling the greatest right now. Go back to some of the testimonials. If you're a salesperson, go back to some of the people that are your best clients and that admire you the most, and just give them a call, or talk to someone that you really admire that admires you, and say, how have I impacted your life? And again, it's just to reinforce and remind you that you do have skills, you do have abilities, you do have value. Because oftentimes we just get so caught up in these stressful environments or these stressors that we start to believe how we're feeling right now is dictating how we actually are in the grand scheme of things. So sometimes I'll go back to testimonials. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll actually read one of my books that I wrote and go, wow, I actually wrote this. I feel pretty good. That came out of me, and I feel pretty good about that. And then it'll just kind of reframe to kind of go, because my inner cynic comes out once in a while, and it batters me. And so what I'll do is I'll literally just catch myself doing it, and I'll pick up my book, this book here, and I'll basically start reading I'll read a chapter of it. I'll just open it to a page, and I'll start reading it, and I'll go, wow, this is pretty good stuff. A person that wasn't worthy, that wasn't skillful, that wasn't hungry could not have written that book. So you know what? I'm going to call myself on it. It'll reframe my experience. I'll feel good about my life and how I'm living right there in that moment. So again, managing your stress, one of the better ways is to manage your stressors. Determine what are your top 5 triggers that triggered you to go into high stress mode or anxiety or panic mode or frustration or fear. Determine what those 5 triggers are and do your very best to eliminate them, or at least take yourself out of that equation for as much as you can. Keep the people around you that are stressing you the most at arm's length. Now, there are certain environments where you need to be in those environments that are actually necessary. So if you've got a job that's high stress, your boss is stressful, your clients are stressful, either I do a podcast on, looking at your job and actually saying, what are 20 things I like about my job, and then reading it every morning. That's one way to manage your stress, but you're managing your mindset, you're managing your emotions, you're managing your language, and reminding yourself that you're grateful for the job that you have, and then going into your job in that state of total gratitude and power, and then you will affect the people around you. Now, that's one way to manage your stress internally, by setting up the game so you are actually upgrading yourself in the morning and then entering your high stress environment, but at least you're not entering it from the bottom of the mountain. You're entering it from the top of the mountain rather than the bottom. So, but manage your environment, manage the people you're hanging around. And one of the things I remember hearing one of my original mentors telling me this was, hang around people that are better than you. Hang around people that make you feel uncomfortable, that are going to upgrade you and to lift you up, not bring you down. You can manage those people. You can manage the people you hang around. So hang around people, if you want to be fit, hang around really fit and healthy people, and they'll pull you up. And as I often say to people, one of 3 things will happen when you do this. Either they'll pull you up, or you'll bring them down, or the relationship will dissolve because there's no partnership and there's no congruency in the values that you have. And so when I ask people that, I say, if you hung around me for 30 days, one of 3 things will happen. Either you raise your standard to come, I pull you up, you'll pull me down, or our relationship's going to dissolve for various reasons. But one of those 3 things will happen. And the key is to hang around people that'll bring you up and pull you up. So put yourself in an environment. Even your home can be designed in such a way where your home can be a stressor. Like, let's say you are a clutter and it's all messy all the time. One of the ways to do that is pick a room in your home and make it a divine sanctuary where it's clean. It's a reflection of who you are. I was telling a client a while ago about make one room your sanctuary. Like, paint one wall your favorite color and put some of your favorite quotes, put some of the best pictures, your favorite animals and colors, and make that room. And so when you enter it, that environment actually triggers you to go into peace or serenity or empowerment, where you do your best work. So managing your environment, managing the people you hang around, managing the books you read, the places you go, the things that you watch. A long time ago, I think the average North American watches anywhere from 6.5 to 8 hours of TV every day. And I'm sure it's not TV that's empowering you. One of my original mentors used to always say to me, Anthony, read 10 pages of something powerful every day. And I've basically followed that procedure every day of my life, maybe going off on a couple of days here and there, but I always return back to it, or using my car as a university on wheels for, I'm learning something new every day. And just using my environment to trigger me to be in the best, most powerful states. So, and I'll repeat myself, where you'll be in 2 years will depend on 4 things: what you read, what you listen to, what you watch, and who you hang around. You can manage those. And if you manage what you read, manage what you watch, manage what you listen to, and manage who you hang around, I can promise you, the stress levels will not only go down, but you'll be a stronger, more powerful version of yourself, so that when those other stressors enter into your world, and they will enter, you're prepared, you're ready to handle those stresses. So number one, upgrade who you are, your mind, your body, your soul, and then upgrade your environment, who you hang around, what you watch, what you listen to. And I promise it's not that stress won't ever come, but the reality is we can manage ourselves. We can manage our environment. We can manage what we focus on. We can manage our perceptions. As an example, like a few days ago, those 2 massacres that happened in the United States, horrible. But I because I don't really watch news, because it's always something bad on the news, and some people call me naive, but I choose not to like read about murders and pillaging and poverty all the time. I choose to be a higher vibration, to bring my vibration of my own energy and my family so I can bring it up. I acknowledge that there's war and famine, but the more I read that stuff and then listen to that stuff on the radio and watch it on news, I just don't do that, and it brings me down. So I can't be well equipped and armed to do something about it. So I choose not to read about that. So the point I'm making is that I didn't hear about those massacres until maybe a day later, and people were all talking about it. And I remember just going, wow, that's horrible. And I remember thinking just to myself, an aha moment that I had. And I thought, it's not that there's stress, it's our perception of stress. Because if, for example, the 2 massacres were the cause of stress in the world right now, then at the moment that happened, then I would have been affected by that. But as soon as it entered my consciousness, only then my perceptions about that actual event made it stressful. And I've met so many people that where, as an example, something would happen and then there would be 10 different reactions to that particular stimulus, where I would react completely panicky. The other person would go, it's not a big deal. Why is it that there's the same stimulus and there's 10 people's reactions are completely different? Because it has nothing to do with the stimulus. It has to do with the response of the individual. So remember that. There's always a place between stimulus and response, and there's that place, that void, where you can make a choice to say, I'm not going to allow this to hurt me. I'm not going to allow this to affect me in a negative way. So it's very, very endearing. It's very something to think about, managing your mindset, managing your perceptions, managing your environment, managing the people you hang around. That has been the theme of this podcast. I know I repeat myself, but as Tony Robbins says, repetition is the mother of all skill. And as you repeat things to yourself enough, you read about it, you reinforce it, it then becomes a habit. And habits are formed through conditioning and repetition. So I hope that helps you guys. And I think too, I talked about managing your stressors, not your stress. I think what we, as humans, as we evaluate ourselves and upgrade our lives, we have to manage also and examine our own beliefs and perceptions about life. Because we actually might have a perception or belief about life that actually is the actual stressor itself. Right? Because we might have this belief that says life has to be happy all the time and problem free. Well, if you have an actual underlying global belief that that life is supposed to be happy, never be stressful, you're always going to be unhappy, because life is not ever like that. There's always going to be problems. There's always going to be challenges. As I put on my Instagram just the thing this morning or yesterday, when you overcome an obstacle, you don't just all of a sudden enter the land of no obstacles. There's just another obstacle. There's more obstacles. Problems are a sign of life, as Norman Vincent Peale says. Problems are a sign of life. The people that don't have problems are the people that live in grave sites, that are dead. And some of the richest people in the world are in grave sites because they went to the grave with the music still in them. And let me tell you something. As one of my original mentors used to say too as well, was there's no growth in your comfort zone, no comfort in your growth zone. So when you're comfortable, you're not necessarily growing. You're not growing that much. And when you're uncomfortable, you're growing. It's a spur to action to grow even harder. How do you grow big muscles? Is that you put those muscles up against like heavy weights, and you get to the point where it hurts. And there's no gain without the pain, as that says, right? And I think it's important that we look at our own beliefs and we study ourselves and go, wait a second, is there a belief about my life that I have underlying that's causing me to actually feel this way? And oftentimes people have this belief that, I've got to be successful and rich and famous. And if that's a belief that you have and you're not rich and famous, and then you're going to feel like a failure all the time. You'll continuously compare yourself to the world around you that's better or superior to you. I don't do that anymore. I admire people. I'm inspired by people, but I ultimately measure myself by basically how I used to be compared to how I was yesterday. And I always find a way to learn something every single day. And that's just sort of my fundamental, foundational sort of mindset that even though I may not have had the best day, I certainly can extract some positive from it. What did I learn? Even if it's, I didn't learn anything. Maybe that's the lesson. I didn't learn anything, right? So, but that's okay. August is a month for me that is sort of downtime for me. My business is a little slower because everyone's on vacation and it's the month before school and it's, all this stuff is busy. But I now reframe it from downtime in business to uptime with my family, uptime with my wife and my kids, and uptime with the divine, and scheduling time to kind of just to touch that part of me that's untouchable, that is infinite and limitless and kind and generous, and it's always giving itself to me. So I use those times. I'm able to reframe those times. So manage your stressors, not necessarily your stress, and I can tell you, you'll live a much more abundant and happy life. So hopefully that makes sense, and it has certainly served you in this podcast, and we'd love to hear your comments. And Queen, we love having you on a consistent basis. Apologize for not being on over the summer, but we're going to get back into it in September when our schedules get back into a routine, and we're going to continue to grow with you and for you, and share our experience with you. So to your continued upgrade and evolution, live it up with power, purpose, and passion. God bless, guys.